Hello, reading and comp students. This is Mrs. Byers, the teacher at Heron. Today we are going to read a few chapters from the 57 bus, and the first chapter is Look Where His People Went. Some of Richard's friends had reached the same conclusion, not because they wanted to protect the world from Richard, but because they wanted to protect Richard from the world. The world they knew had so many dead-end streets, so many dangerous corners, and clearly no marked way out. Richard's cousin Gerald remembered how Richard had been the summer he first got back from Reading, full of ambition and resolve. He was telling me when he first got out that he was doing good and he was going to work and stuff, Gerald said. He started falling off when he started going with the wrong people. Gerald never said who those wrong people were, but in the year between Richard's arrest and his sentencing, two of his old friends were arrested for separate but equally serious crimes: carjackings and home invasion robberies. They were both sentenced to 5 years in adult prison. I'm not saying jail is for everybody, but it probably could save his life because look where his people went, Cherry said. He's not going to do everything his friends are going to do, but he would have gotten wrapped up in some of it. That was the dilemma all of them faced in one form or another. If your friends were on a dangerous path, adults told you to cast them aside. But without your friends, who could you trust? Who could you count on to have your back? Next chapter, Victim Impact Statement. Richard returned to court in November for sentencing. Debbie and Carl were there, as were Jasmine and her sister Juliet. Lloyd was there too. It was the first time he had come to one of Richard's court appearances. When Richard saw his family there, a smile flickered across his face and then disappeared, like a snail retreating into its shell. Debbie had been asked to give a victim impact statement. She was ushered past the wooden bar that separated the gallery from the court and given a glass of water to clear her throat. Then she stood in front of Richard and read aloud a letter, her voice quavering. You attacked our child as they slept on a bus, she began. Maybe you thought it was weird that Sasha was wearing a skirt. Richard's eyes gazed on her face as she described Sasha's ordeal. The charred skin, the painful skin grafts, the hours of daily bandaging. His eyes filled with tears. We do not understand your actions, Debbie went on, but we also think that hatred only leads to more hatred and anger. We don't want you to come out of prison full of hate. Following the incident, communities near and far affirmed Sasha's and everyone's right not to be harassed or hurt or bullied for how they dress, or whether they are gay or trans or agender. We truly hope that you will gain some understanding and empathy in the years to come. Maybe sometime in the future, you will be the one coming to the aid of someone being bullied. Afterward, Debbie and Carl spent about half an hour answering questions from the media. They walked out of the courthouse in the November sunshine and stopped for coffee at a nearby sidewalk cafe. They were exhausted from talking to reporters, unsure whether they were to be relieved or distraught. I felt like it was important that he hear it from us, Debbie said of the letter she'd read. What that was like, I don't want people to think, oh, it's not a big deal to us because we've been forgiving, but, her voice grew soft, I wish it had turned out differently for Richard. We got Sasha back, but poor Jasmine, she lost her son for years. I just had this wave of emotion at how young he looked, Carl said. He looks just like a kid. I hope they can make it, Debbie said. I hope they don't get crushed. He, Carl corrected. Yeah, Debbie said. I hope he doesn't get crushed. Nerd fraternity. As Richard was being sentenced, Sasha was moving out of the dorms to Epsilon Theta, which was housed in a yellow colonial revival mansion about 2 miles from the MIT campus, a former Navy fraternity. It was now, as Sasha explained, a fraternity in name only. I mean, we're dry, we're co-ed, we're a bunch of nerds. They said, it's kind of like the anti-fraternity. It was the perfect place for someone as shy as Sasha, a ready-made cadre of like-minded people. Whenever I'm not in class, I'm at ET, Sasha explained. The house had many eccentricities. one of which was that none of the bedrooms contained beds. The rooms were for studying or for socializing only. All 21 Thetans slept in an attic dormitory that was kept perpetually dim and hushed so that house members could sleep undisturbed at any time of day. When not sleeping or studying, Thetans were fond of video games, constructing and solving elaborate puzzles, playing, inventing, and reimagining board games, and pretending to kill another as a part of live-action mafia games. They ate communal meals prepared by a cook named Karen, and had a variety of wry, nerdy traditions like not coffee, defined as a weekly study break with tasty snacks that, in general, are not coffee, and stereo wars, a contest of loudness before the start of finals. Sasha was the only non-binary person in the house, but in response to their request, the house changed the names of the gendered bathrooms, known as heads, in a linguistic carryover from E.T.'s Navy days, to Men's Plus and Women's Plus. Anyone who doesn't exclusively identify as male can use the women's head, and anyone who doesn't exclusively identify as female can use the men's head, Sasha explained. By this definition, Sasha could use both. When Sasha came home from vacation, they proudly wore Upsilon Theta t-shirt. It was a little hard to tell that it wasn't an ET sweatshirt, though, since both of the letters in the sweatshirt were the exact same shade of purple. They were happy at MIT. They'd found their people, and they liked their classes. As for the fire, it was already a distant memory. Few people at MIT even knew it happened. How it ended up. Cherry sits in a cafe in Oakland, drinking a smoothie and talking about the old days, back when she and Richard were 14. She's wearing a turquoise tie-dyed t-shirt, jeans, and gold hoop earrings. Her hair is waist-long and gleaming, her jewelry glittery, her skin flawless, except for the streaks made by the tears streaming down her face. It was kind of fucked up that we were out there fighting and cutting schools, she says. Let me just say that it was karma, you know? We shouldn't have been doing what we should have been doing what we were supposed to be doing, because look how it ended up for us. She ticked the outcomes off her fingers. Skeet was dead. Ashley was a mom. Hadari and Jesse were serving time in the state penitentiary, and Richard had been convicted of a felony. She and Day were the last ones standing. They were both 18. But so far, neither of them had graduated from high school. They weren't giving up on those diplomas, but they had a lot of catching up to do. It's just a sad story. When you think about it, it's just hella sad. Okay, guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out your haiku pages for the questions to answer, and hopefully we'll have some discussions on these later. Thanks. Bye.